The blue glow from the 3 moons of Dextra lit up the night market where Lila stood in chains. Her purple skin marked with the symbols of ownership glowed under the light. Tall and slender with 4 arms and eyes that shimmered like galaxies. She kept her head down as traders passed by, examining her like common goods. Lila had been captured during the raid on her home planet 6 cycles ago and sold to the Vraxian Empire. They used her people for their natural ability to sense energy, fields making them valuable tools in mining operations and shield technology. She had been a scholar once studying the stars and ancient texts about the first spacefaring races. Now she was property worth less than the chains that bound her. The Vraxian market buzzed with activity, as creatures from 100 worlds bartered and traded under the watchful eyes of armored guards. Species Lila had only read about in books now pushed past her, some looking at her with pity, others with cruel interest. The smell of alien spices and engine fuel mixed in the air making her feel sick. Her keeper, a bulky Vraxian with scale-covered skin, yanked her chain, forcing her to move to a more visible spot. The pain shot through her neck where the control collar bit into her skin. She did not cry out. She had learned that showing pain only brought more. Jack Carter had not planned to stop on Dextera. The small trading vessel he worked on as a mechanic had suffered damage to its coolant systems during an asteroid belt crossing. Their captain, Amelia Boyd, had ordered an emergency stop at the nearest port to avoid a complete engine failure. Jack had been working non-stop for 16 hours repairing the damaged components, now with the ship finally stable. He had wandered into the night market searching for a particular tool that would make future repairs easier. Humans were uncommon in this sector of space, making Jack stand out among the crowd. His tall frame and broad shoulders earned him suspicious glances from some of the smaller species, while his kind brown eyes and weathered face showed the marks of someone who had spent years traveling between the stars. He had just finished haggling with a tentacled merchant over the price of a phase converter when he noticed the slave auction starting. Jack frowned. His homeworld Earth had abolished slavery centuries ago, and humans generally avoided planets where it remained legal. But here in the outer sectors beyond Earth Alliance, protection different laws applied. The sight of beings in chains made his stomach turn. He was about to walk away when he spotted her. The purple-skinned alien woman with 4 arms and eyes that seemed to contain entire nebulae. Something about the dignified way she held herself despite her circumstances caught his attention. Jack watched as a Vraxian guard pushed Lila forward, shocking her with an electric prod when she moved too slowly. The crowd laughed at her stumble, and the auctioneer, a thin gray alien with 6 eyes, began calling for bids. Jack felt his hands curl into fists. Something in him burned with anger seeing such cruelty. He had heard stories about the Vraxian slave trade, but seeing it firsthand made his blood boil. He should walk away. This wasn't his business, and getting involved with Vraxian affairs was a quick way to end up dead or worse, but Jack could not make himself turn around. As the bidding continued, he found himself studying the guard patterns, the security measures, and the layout of the market, his mind working on a plan before he had even admitted to himself what he intended to do. The purple woman was sold to a mining company representative. The price was high, reflecting her rare abilities. The buyer, a cold-eyed human collaborator, nodded with satisfaction as the deal was completed. Jack felt shame seeing one of his own kind participating in such a trade. He followed at a distance as they led her to the holding pens where purchased slaves would wait until transport ships arrived. Night fell on Dextra, but the market never truly slept. The 3 moons cast enough light to see by, and the various species that made up the trading post had different sleep cycles ensuring constant activity. Jack returned to his ship to gather supplies and make preparations. Captain Amelia noticed his distraction. "Something on your mind, Carter?" she asked as he packed items into a small bag. She was an older woman with gray-streaked hair and sharp eyes that missed very little. Jack considered lying, but Amelia deserved better. She had given him a chance when most captains wouldn't hire a mechanic with his spotty record. "Saw something I can't ignore, Captain," he admitted. "Just need to handle it before we leave." Amelia studied his face, then sighed. "I can afford trouble with the Vraxians, Jack. Their money keeps half the independent ships in this sector flying. It's not your trouble, Captain. It's mine." Personal, she cursed under her breath. You always were the bleeding heart of the crew. Just make sure whatever you're planning doesn't blow back on the ship. We leave in 20 hours with or without you. Jack nodded, grateful she didn't ask more questions. Amelia had been around long enough to guess what had upset him, and smart enough to maintain deniability. That night, while most of the market slept, Jack snuck toward the slave pens. His heart pounded in his chest as he disabled the security system, using tricks he had learned working on similar systems he wore. A breathing mask that covered most of his face, helping disguise his human features. He knew if he was caught, the punishment would be severe. Humans had no special status or protection in this part of space. The holding area was poorly guarded. The Fraxians relied more on their technology than physical security. Jack used a small device he had built from ship parts to create a power fluctuation in the main grid. The emergency lights flickered, giving him the moment he needed to slip past the single guard. Lila sensed someone approaching before she saw him, her energy perception picking up his nervous determination. She backed away, frightened as the human appeared at her cell door. The alien wore a mask, but she could tell from his body shape that he was the same species as the man who had bought her. I want to help you escape, Jack whispered. Do you understand me? Lila nodded slowly. She had learned the common trade language during her captivity. Why would you risk your life for me? She asked. Her voice melodic and soft despite her fear. Jack thought about his answer. Because where I come from, we believe no one should be owned by another. Not ever. He worked quickly, using a magnetic pick to disable the lock on her cell door. A collar would be harder. Fraxian control collars were designed to detonate if tampered with improperly. Jack pulled out a small device from his pocket and attached it to the collar. This will mask the signal for a few hours, he explained. But we need to get it off properly before they realize you're gone. Lila stood very still as he worked, feeling the strange warmth of his hands near her neck. No one had touched her with gentleness in years. The sensation was almost forgotten. They moved through, the shadows, Jack guiding her toward the less populated area of the spaceport. He had memorized the guard rotations and knew they had a small window to reach the maintenance tunnels that ran beneath the market. These tunnels, used by service droids, would lead them close to where his ship was docked. A patrol of Vraxian guards turned the corner ahead of them. Jack pulled Lila into an alcove, pressing her against the wall as the guards passed just inches away. She could feel his heart hammering. In his chest, smell the unfamiliar scent of his species. Her 4 hands instinctively gripped his arms as they held their breath together. When the danger passed, they continued moving faster now. As they approached the tunnel entrance, an alarm suddenly blared across the market. The guards had discovered her missing sooner than Jack had planned. They need to make it to the tunnel now. Jack pulled Lila behind a cargo container as more guards ran past. She trembled beside him, her 4 hands clutching. His arm, I can sense a path where their energy is weakest, Lila whispered, pointing toward a narrow gap between patrols. Jack nodded, following her lead, trusting her abilities. Together they sprinted across the open space, diving into the maintenance tunnel just as spotlights swept across the area they had been standing. The sound of boots and angry shouts echoed behind them as they crawled through the narrow space. Lila could feel the determination radiating from the human beside her. She did not understand why he would risk everything for someone he did not know. But for the first time since her capture, she felt something close to hope. The tunnel ended near the smaller landing pads where independent traders docked. Jack helped Lila, out checking for guards before they moved toward the ship where Captain Amelia and the rest of the crew waited, unaware of what Jack had done. The alarm continued to wail across the spaceport as Jack and Lila crept between cargo containers and maintenance equipment. Their breath made small clouds in the cool night air. Jack glanced at the purple-skinned alien woman beside him and saw the fear in her galaxy-like eyes. He needed to get her to safety, but his ship was still 2 docking bays away. Guards were everywhere now, moving in organized search patterns with scanner devices that could detect different species. Jack knew they would be looking for Lila specifically. Her unique energy signature would stand out to their technology. They can't get to the main ship now. Jack realized the captain and crew would be questioned and possibly arrested if he brought trouble to their doorstep. He made a quick decision, pulling Lila toward a different section of the landing area. "This way," he whispered. "We need a different plan." Lila followed him, her forearms moving with natural grace, despite her exhaustion. She could sense the human's concern not just for himself but for others. He was protecting people she had never met. The concept seemed strange to her. After years in captivity, she had seen little evidence that any species cared for those outside their own kind. They reached a smaller landing pad where personal vessels and short-range shuttles were docked. Jack approached a small beaten-up shuttle that had seen better days. The name Starlight was painted on its side in faded letters. "You have another ship?" Lila asked, her voice barely audible. "Not exactly," Jack admitted as he pulled a small device from his pocket and began working on the shuttle's security lock. "It's called borrowing." Lila watched nervously as Jack bypassed the shuttle's security system. The concept of stealing was not unfamiliar, but she was surprised this human would risk additional punishment by taking someone else's property. The lock clicked open, and the shuttle doors slid upward with a hydraulic hiss. Jack ushered Lila inside before closing the door behind them. The interior was cramped with just enough room for a pilot seat passenger area and small storage compartment. Jack moved to the controls, immediately starting the power-up sequence. "Do you know how to fly this?" she asked, watching. His hands move across the control panel with practiced ease. Jack gave her a small smile. "Been fixing ships for 15 years. You learn to fly them too when no one's looking." The shuttle's engines hummed to life. Jack kept the exterior lights off as he engaged the thrusters, lifting them slowly from the landing pad. He was careful to stay low, using other docked ships as cover while they moved away from the main search area. They were almost clear of the spaceport when a spotlight caught them. The bright beam illuminated the shuttle as a voice boomed over the external speakers. "Unauthorized departure, identify immediately, or we will open fire." Jack accelerated, pushing the little shuttle forward at dangerous speed. They rocketed away from the spaceport as the first energy blasts sizzled past them. The shuttle shook violently as one shot grazed their right thruster. Jack fought with the controls, keeping them airborne as they gained altitude. Lila gripped the seat with all four hands, her eyes wide as the ground fell away beneath them. The ships pursuing them were faster and better armed. Their only hope was to reach orbit where they might be able to jump to light speed before being captured or destroyed. "We need more power," Jack shouted as warning lights flashed across the control panel. The damaged thruster was losing efficiency. Fast. Lila looked at the engine readouts. Her people had natural abilities with energy systems. Without thinking, she reached out, placing her lower hands on the shuttle's power distribution panel. She closed her eyes, feeling the energy patterns flowing through the ship. With careful concentration, she began to redirect power, balancing the damaged systems and strengthening the overtaxed engine. Jack watched in amazement as the power readings stabilized. The shuttle stopped shaking and gained speed. He glanced at Lila, seeing the intense concentration on her face and the soft purple glow emanating from her hands where they touched the ship's systems. The pursuing vessels were falling behind now, unable to match their sudden increase in speed. Jack plotted a course that would take them away from the planet's main shipping lanes. As they broke through the atmosphere into the darkness of space, he began calculating coordinates for a hyperspace jump. Lila opened her eyes, releasing her connection to the ship's systems. She looked exhausted, but there was pride in her expression. "I balanced your power distribution," she explained. "My people can sense and manipulate energy fields. It's why the Vraxians value us as slaves." "That was amazing," Jack said with genuine admiration. "You just saved our lives." Lila wasn't used to praise. Her abilities had only ever been exploited, never appreciated. The human's words made her feel something she had almost forgotten, a sense of her own worth. Their moment of success was short-lived, as the shuttle's sensors detected larger ships moving to intercept them. Vraxian patrol vessels designed for space pursuit were closing in from multiple directions. "We can't outrun those," Jack admitted. "The shuttle doesn't have the speed." Lila studied the sensor display, noticing something unusual in the data. "There is a high concentration of magnetic particles at coordinates 743 Mark 8, she said. "Those could disrupt their tracking systems." Jack didn't question her. He adjusted their course, heading directly for the magnetic cloud Lila had identified. As they entered the particle field, their sensors became less reliable, but the same was happening to their pursuers. The Vraxian ship slowed, becoming more cautious in the blinding particles. Jack used the opportunity to power down non-essential systems, making their energy signature as small as possible. They drifted deeper into the cloud, letting the magnetic particles conceal them while the patrol vessel searched in widening patterns. "I think we've lost them for now," Jack said, keeping his voice low as if the Vraxians might hear them through the vacuum of space. "But they will establish a blockade around this system. We need to find a way past it." Lila nodded, her expression troubled. "You have risked too much already," she said. "Why would you do this for me?" Jack was quiet for a moment, focusing on the shuttle's controls before answering. "My mother was a historian. She studied how different societies treated their people. She always told me that the true measure of civilization wasn't technology or power, but how they treated the most vulnerable." His eyes met hers briefly. "I saw you in that market and I couldn't walk away." Lila considered his words. She had been a scholar before her capture, studying different species and their behaviors. Humans were relatively new to the galactic community. Their homeworld Earth had only achieved faster-than-light travel about 200 years ago, making them younglings compared to many other species. They were known for being unpredictable, sometimes dangerously so. They drifted in silence for nearly an hour before Jack felt it was safe to power up the engines again. The patrol ships had moved to the system's edge, establishing the blockade he had feared. "There is a trading outpost in the next system," Jack explained as he checked the fuel levels. "The shuttle won't get us there." "We need to find another ship." Lila looked alarmed. "You want to steal another vessel, not steal." Jack clarified. "Trade. This shuttle might not be much, but it's worth something to the right buyer. We just need to find them." He set course for a small moon orbiting a gas giant at the edge of the system. According to the shuttle's database, there was a mining operation there. The workers were mostly independent contractors not affiliated with the Vraxian Empire. They might find someone willing to help, or at least look the other way. As they approached the moon, Jack noticed Lila was examining the control collar still attached to her neck. The device that had masked its signal was blinking red, indicating its power was running low. "We need to get that off you," Jack said. "We have maybe an hour before it starts broadcasting again." Lila touched the collar carefully. "It's designed to detonate if removed improperly," she explained. "Many of my people died trying to escape because of these devices." Jack's expression darkened at this information. The cruelty of the Vraxians seemed to have no limits. He studied the collar, thinking through possible solutions. "I might be able to disable it," he said finally, "but I need tools better than what we have on this shuttle." Another reason to land at the mining colony. The moon grew larger in their view screen. Its surface was cratered and gray without atmosphere. The mining colony was built under a transparent dome, allowing the workers to move about without environmental suits. Jack guided the shuttle toward the designated landing area, hoping their arrival wouldn't attract too much attention. As they landed, Jack noticed Lila's hands were trembling. He reached out, placing his hand gently on her upper arm. Her skin was smooth and warm with a slight electric tingle to it, like static electricity. "Well, get through this," he promised. "I won't let them take you back." Lila looked at him, her galaxy eyes reflecting the shuttle's interior. "Lights, I believe you," she said, though it defied all logic that she should trust this strange human. She had known for only a few hours. Jack found a hooded cloak in the shuttle's storage compartment and gave it to Lila. It would help conceal her forearms and distinctive skin color as they moved through the mining colony. He pulled his own jacket collar up and adjusted his cap to shadow his face. They couldn't hide completely, but they could avoid immediate recognition. The service corridor was narrow and dimly lit with pipes running along the ceiling, carrying various gases and liquids necessary for the mining operation. Jack moved quickly with Lila close behind him. They could hear the sounds of the Vraxian soldiers, growing fainter as they put distance between themselves and the shop. Jack consulted a small directory panel on the wall, trying to make sense of the colony's layout. "We need to find somewhere quiet to remove that collar," he whispered. Then we can worry about getting off this rock. Lila nodded, her hand unconsciously touching the metal device around her neck. The mask on its signal was failing. She could feel the subtle vibration that indicated it would soon begin broadcasting her location. Again, they continued through the maze of corridors, occasionally passing maintenance workers who barely glanced at them. The mining colony operated with minimal oversight, allowing various species to work without much scrutiny as long as they met their quotas. This environment of minimal questions was exactly what Jack and Lila needed now. Eventually, they found an abandoned storage room filled with outdated equipment. Jack secured the door behind them and immediately began examining the tools the shopkeeper had provided. The case contained specialized devices designed to interfere with the control collar's detonation mechanism. This might hurt, Jack warned as he prepared the first tool. I need you to stay completely still. Lila sat on a crater back straight and her forehands folded in her lap. She closed her eyes, focusing on controlling her breathing, as Jack began working on the collar. His fingers were gentle against her neck as he attached a small device to the collar's locking mechanism. I studied engineering at the Earth Alliance Academy. Jack explained as he worked, keeping his voice calm and conversational, trying to distract her from the danger. My specialty was power systems, but we had classes on various alien technologies, including security devices. Lila kept her eyes closed, listening to his voice. The human's steady heartbeat and controlled breathing helped calm her own fear. Why did you leave the academy? She asked. Jack's hands paused for just a moment. I graduated, actually worked for the Alliance for 3 years. Then I saw things that didn't sit right with me. The Alliance makes treaties with governments like the Vraxians, claiming they can't interfere with local customs, when those customs include slavery. He didn't finish the sentence, instead focusing on adjusting the device attached to her collar. The tool emitted a soft beep, and Jack carefully attached a second device to another part of the collar. This one will scramble the explosive component, he explained. Just a few more minutes, Lila could sense the energy patterns in the devices he was using, feeling how they interfered with the collar's own systems. Her people had natural abilities with energy, which was one reason they were so valued. As slaves, she could help guide his work. The left secondary lock is still active, she said softly. You need to disrupt its frequency first. Jack looked surprised, but quickly adjusted his approach following her guidance. Together they worked on the collar, his mechanical knowledge combining with her energy sensitivity. They developed a rhythm, Jack making adjustments while Lila provided feedback on the energy fluctuations. Finally, with a soft click, the collar deactivated. Jack carefully removed it from her neck, revealing the dark purple marks where it had rested for years. Lila raised a hand to her bare neck, the sensation strange and wonderful after so long. Free, she whispered, her galaxy eyes shimmering with emotion. Jack placed the collar in a waste disposal unit, watching with satisfaction as it was crushed beyond repair. Now we just need to get off this moon, he said, and find somewhere safe for you. Lila stood up, stretching her forearms fully for the first time since their escape. The movement was graceful, almost like a dance. Jack couldn't help but stare. She was beautiful in an alien way, her movements fluid, and her purple skin catching the light like polished stone. The shopkeeper gave us coordinates, Jack said, finally turning his attention back to their situation. We should try to find this contact of his. They left the storage room, cautiously checking the corridors before moving forward. Jack consulted the colony map again, identifying a series of smaller docking bays used by independent miners and traders. Their destination was on the far side of the colony, requiring them to cross through busier sections. As they walked, Lila stayed close to Jack, her cloak pulled tightly around her. She observed him with growing curiosity. This human continued to surprise her. Most species she had encountered looked after their own kind, first treating others with suspicion or outright hostility. Yet Jack had risked everything for her, a stranger from a species not his own. Why? Did your people leave your home planet? She asked as they navigated a less crowded passageway. The question had been bothering her since she learned he was human. Humans were relative newcomers to interstellar travel. Earth was getting crowded, Jack explained resources were becoming scarce. Then we developed the jump drive that allowed us to reach nearby star systems. The first colonies were on Mars and Europa, in our home system. Then we spread further. Typical story, really. Explore, expand, establish, outposts, trade with other species when we finally encountered them, and war. Lila added softly. All species seem to fight when they meet others. Jack nodded sadly. The Earth-Centauri conflict was brutal, short but devastating. Both sides learned that interstellar war is too costly. That's when the alliance was formed, a way for humans to present a unified front to other species while also establishing rules of engagement. They paused their conversation as they entered a busier section of the Colony A marketplace similar to the one where Jack had first seen Lila. But without the slave auctions, miners and traders bartered for goods from across the galaxy. Food items, luxury products, medicine, and technical equipment changed hands rapidly. Jack kept Lila moving, staying close to the walls and avoiding direct eye contact with anyone. They were halfway through the market when Lila suddenly gripped Jack's arm, her four hands tightening around his wrist. Vraxians, she whispered. They are approaching from the north entrance. Jack looked up, seeing the tall, scaled forms of Vraxian soldiers entering the marketplace. Their reptilian eyes scanned the crowd methodically as they moved forward, showing images to various vendors and shoppers. This way, Jack pulled Lila toward a side passage, but it was too late. A Vraxian had spotted them. The soldier raised his arm, pointing directly at them and shouting orders to his companions. Run, Jack yelled. Abandoning any pretense of stealth, they sprinted through the market, knocking over displays and pushing past surprised shoppers. The Vraxian soldiers gave chase their longer legs, giving them an advantage in the straight corridors. Jack took a sharp turn, pulling Lila into a maintenance shaft. The narrow passage forced them to crawl, reducing their speed, but also preventing the larger Vraxians from following directly. The soldiers would have to take alternate routes to cut them off. The shaft opened into a loading area where automated carts moved ore from the mining operations to processing facilities. Jack and Lila dodged between the moving vehicles, using them as cover as they made their way toward the docking bays. The sounds of pursuit grew closer as the Vraxians coordinated their efforts to surround the fugitives. We're almost there, Jack said, pointing to a doorway marked with shipping designations. Just through there, and we can reach the independent docks. They were 20 meters from the door when a shot hit the wall beside them, plasma energy scorching the metal and sending sparks flying. Jack pushed Lila forward, shielding her with his body as more shots followed. Their pursuers had found them. Jack grabbed a piece of equipment from a nearby cart and hurled it toward the Vraxians, buying them precious seconds to reach the door. He punched the access code the shopkeeper had provided, praying it would work. The door slid open, revealing a corridor beyond. They rushed through as plasma fire erupted around them. Jack felt searing pain as a shot grazed his side. The door closed behind them, sealing automatically, but it wouldn't hold the Vraxians for long. Jack stumbled, Lila catching him with her lower arms while her upper hands examined his wound. The plasma had burned through his jacket, leaving a painful wound along his ribs. You're injured, she said, her voice tight with concern. Keep moving, Jack insisted, grimacing through the pain. We need to find docking bay 7. Lila supported him as they moved forward, Jack checking bay numbers as they passed. Each contained various ships, from small personal vessels to medium-sized cargo haulers. Finally, they reached Bay 7, where a single ship sat on the landing pad. It was an older model transport vessel with obvious modifications and repairs. Its hull was painted a dark blue with the name Horizon, barely visible under layers of carbon scoring. As they approached, the ship's entry ramp extended automatically. A figure appeared at the top, a human woman with dark skin and short gray hair. She held a pulse rifle pointed directly at them. Grok sent you, the woman asked, her voice hard and suspicious. Jack nodded, still leaning on Lila for support. Told us to mention his name. Said you might help us. The woman's eyes narrowed as she studied them, her gaze lingering on Lila's forearms and purple skin visible now despite the cloak. Vraxian trouble, she said. It wasn't a question. Vraxian soldiers will be here any minute. Jack said urgently. We can pay, the woman hesitated for a moment, then gestured with her rifle. Get in quickly. The medical bay of the horizon was small but well equipped. Maya explained that she often took jobs transporting medical supplies, giving her access to equipment that most independent ships lacked. Jack sat on the examination table as Maya cleaned and treated his plasma burn. Lila watched with interest, learning about human biology. "You're lucky," Maya said, applying a regenerative gel to the wound. "The shot only grazed you. A direct hit would have been much worse." Jack winced as the gel began to work the sensation like tiny needles as it stimulated cell growth. "I've had worse," he said, trying to sound casual, though the pain was significant. Maya finished bandaging the wound and stepped back. "That's the best I can do. You should rest for at least a few hours." She turned to Lila, examining the marks on her neck where the collar had been. "These need treatment too." Lila allowed Maya to apply a different gel to her neck. The cool sensation was immediately soothing, easing the pain she'd grown so accustomed to that she hardly noticed it anymore. "Thank you," she said softly. Maya worked with efficient movements, her expression revealing little, but when she spoke, her voice had softened. "I was an Alliance medical officer before going independent. I have seen what the Vraxians do to their slaves." Her eyes met Lila's briefly. "I don't regret helping you after treating their injuries." Maya showed them to a small cabin with 2 bunks. "You should both rest," she advised. "Well, reach the jump point exit in 6 hours. Then we need to decide where to go next." When Maya left, Jack sat heavily on one of the bunks, the adrenaline that had kept him going finally wearing off. Lila took a seat opposite him, studying his face. She could sense his energy fluctuating as his body fought the pain and exhaustion. "You need sleep," Lila said. "Your body requires healing." Jack nodded but made no move to lie down. Instead, he looked at Lila with concern. "Where can we take you? Is there somewhere safe? Your home planet, perhaps?" Lila's expression darkened, her galaxy eyes dimming. "My homeworld Lysaria was occupied by the Vraxian Empire 12 cycles ago. Many of my people were taken as slaves, others fled to various systems. Some formed resistance groups, but they are scattered and few." She hesitated. "I have not seen another Lysarian in 6 cycles, sorry," Jack said softly. "I didn't know. There are rumors," Lila continued, "that some of my people have established a hidden colony beyond the Cygnus expanse. But its location is kept secret. Even from most Lysarians, the Vraxians would destroy it if they found it." Jack considered this information. The Cygnus expanse was a vast region of space filled with radiation and gravitational anomalies. Few ships ventured there, and those that did often never returned. It would make an excellent hiding place for refugees. Maya might know something, he suggested. "She seems to have connections throughout this sector." Lila nodded, though she looked uncertain. The human woman had helped them. But trusting anyone after years of captivity did not come easily. They were both silent for a moment, the quiet hum of the ship's engines. The only sound Jack fought against his growing fatigue, wanting to ensure Lila was comfortable before he rested. "Tell me about your people," Lila said, suddenly breaking the silence. "What is Earth like?" "I have only heard stories." Jack smiled at the question, grateful for the distraction from his pain. "Earth is beautiful," he began. "Blue oceans, green forests, mountains that reach into the cloud cities that shine with light at night." He paused, remembering the home he hadn't seen in years. It's crowded now, though nearly 15 billion people living on one planet. "That's why we expanded to the stars." "And your family?" she asked. "Are they still on Earth?" "My parents died when I was young." Jack explained, "I was raised by my grandmother. She lives in a colony on Tau Ceti now. We message when we can, but I haven't seen her in person for 5 years." Lila was quiet for a moment, considering his words. "It seems we both understand loss," she said. Finally, Jack nodded, understanding the deeper meaning behind her simple statement. Despite their different species, they shared the experience of being separated from those they loved. The realization created a connection between them that transcended their biological differences. "You should rest now," Lila insisted, seeing Jack struggle to keep his eyes open. "I will watch over you, too tired to argue further." Jack finally lay back on the bunk. He was asleep within moments, his breathing becoming deep and regular. Lila watched him for a while, thinking about everything that had happened since this strange human had appeared at her cell. She still did not fully understand why he had risked so much to save her, but she was grateful. While Jack slept, Lila explored the cabin carefully, her scholarly curiosity awakening after years of being suppressed. She examined the various human-designed objects, learning about their function and purpose. When she grew bored with the cabin, she cautiously ventured into the corridor, finding her way back to the ship's main area. Maya was in the galley preparing some kind of food. She looked up as Lila entered. "Your friend is sleeping." "He is not my friend." Lila corrected, "He is my rescuer." Though I do not understand why Maya gestured to a seat at the small table. "Want something to eat? Most species can tolerate human food." "It's pretty bland." Lila sat down, accepting the offered plate. The food was indeed bland, but after years of the minimal nutrition provided to slaves, it tasted wonderful. She ate slowly, savoring each bite. Maya watched her with a guarded expression. "Why do you think he saved you?" she asked. Finally, Lila considered the question. "I have been trying to determine that it seems irrational to risk so much for a stranger. Jack told me humans believe no one should own another, but many species have such beliefs yet do nothing when faced with slavery." Maya nodded thoughtfully. "Some humans are like that, can't stand by when they see suffering. Makes them do crazy things." She took a drink from her cup. "Jack has that look, academy washout maybe." "I am a scholar," Lila said. "Or I was before my capture. I studied comparative xenobiology. The differences between species fascinate me. Humans are particularly interesting. Your species is young compared to others, yet you have spread so quickly across the stars. Some find you frightening." Maya laughed softly. "That's fair, we're unpredictable. Makes the older species nervous. When the Vraxians first encountered humans, they tried to classify us, file us away in their neat categories, but we didn't fit. We made alliances with species they considered inferior. We adopted technology in ways they hadn't considered." She shrugged. "We messed up their tidy view of the galaxy. That is why they fear you." Lila realized humans represent chaos to a species that values order above all else. "Exactly," Maya agreed, "and why they want to keep us contained within alliance space. Not that the alliance is much better, just more diplomatic about their control." Their conversation was interrupted by an alert from the cockpit. Maya moved quickly to check the sensors. Jack appearing in the corridor moments later, looking groggy but, "Alert, what is it?" he asked, joining Maya at the control's unscheduled exit from hyperspace. Maya explained grimly. "Something pulled us out." She pointed to the readings on her console. "Gravity fluctuation. Too strong to be natural." Jack studied the readouts with growing concern. "A Vraxian interdiction field." Maya nodded. "It's a trap. They must have predicted our course." Through the viewport, they could see a Vraxian patrol cruiser waiting for them, its massive form eclipsing the stars behind it. The ship was at least 10 times larger than the horizon, with multiple weapon arrays all currently aimed at them. "They're hailing us." Maya set her voice tight. Jack and Maya exchanged looks, both knowing there was little chance of outrunning or outfighting the cruiser except the hail. Jack suggested, "Maybe we can talk our way out." Maya activated the communication system. A holographic image appeared, showing a Vraxian officer, his scaled face. "Impassive vessel. Horizon, this is Commander Drevax of the Imperial Cruiser Dominion. You are harboring fugitives and stolen property. Prepare to be boarded. We're an independent trading vessel," Maya responded. "We have no fugitives aboard." The Vraxian's expression didn't change. "Our scans indicate otherwise." The human male, Jack Carter, is wanted for theft and interference with Imperial commerce. The Lysarian female is property of the Vraxian Mining Consortium. You will surrender them immediately. Jack stepped forward. "I came willingly," he said. "The Lysarian was kidnapped from her homeworld. She is a sentient being. not property. The commander's reptilian eyes narrowed slightly. You speak of matters beyond your understanding human. The Treaty of Orion clearly establishes that species conquered in rightful conflict become subject to imperial law. Your alliance recognized this treaty, conquered in conflict. Lila said suddenly, moving into view of the communication system. You invaded a peaceful world that had no military commander. My people were scholars and artists, not warriors. The Vraxian regarded her with cold disdain. Your people harbored terrorists who attacked Imperial ships. They were punished accordingly. Jack could see the anger in Lila's eyes, the galaxy-like depths of them burning with intensity. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, turning back to the Vraxian commander. What are your terms, he asked. If we surrender, Jack Maya hissed in protest. The commander seemed pleased. You will be executed for your crimes. The Lysarian will be returned to her rightful owners. You have 10 minutes to prepare for boarding. After that, we will disable your vessel and take you by force. The communication ended. Maya immediately turned to Jack. You can't be serious about surrendering, not Jack assured her, but we needed information. Now we know they want us alive. That gives us options. The Horizon traveled through hyperspace for 3 days. Maya plotting a complicated course with multiple jumps to throw off any pursuit. The Vraxians were not known for giving up easily, especially when their authority had been so publicly challenged. Jack's wound healed slowly, the regenerative gel doing its work, but leaving him with occasional pain. Lila spent much of her time in the ship's small library, accessing information about the galaxy beyond Vraxian space. Her natural scholarly curiosity, reasserting itself after years of suppression. On the 4th day, Maya called them to the cockpit as they approached their destination. We're dropping out of hyperspace, she explained. This is as far as I take you. The swirling colors of hyperspace faded, revealing normal space. The viewport showed a massive space station, its circular structure rotating slowly against the backdrop of stars. It was clearly old, its design from an earlier era of space exploration, but well-maintained with lights glowing from countless windows and docking bays. Welcome to Sanctuary. Maya said, pride evident in her voice. The station is beautiful. Lila breathed, her galaxy eyes wide with wonder. She had never seen anything like it during her time as a scholar before her. Capture Jack leaned forward, studying the structure. It's not on any alliance maps. It's not supposed to be. Maya replied with a small smile. Sanctuary exists in the shadow between governments, a free port for those who need to disappear. She glanced at Lila. Refugees from a dozen conquered worlds live here, protected by distance, isolation, and secrecy. As they approached, docking controllers hailed them. Maya identified herself and their ship, receiving immediate clearance. Jack noticed the security measures surrounding the station. Multiple defense platforms floated at strategic distances, automated systems that could target and destroy unauthorized vessels. They docked smoothly, the airlock connecting to the station with a solid thunk. Maya gathered her few personal items as they prepared to disembark. I have business here, she explained. But first, I'll introduce you to someone who can help you. The 3 of them walked through the airlock into the station. The difference in atmosphere was immediately noticeable. The air was richer, carrying scents of cooking food, plant life, and the subtle perfumes of various alien species. The gravity was slightly lighter than standard, making movement easier. The corridors were wide and well lit, with signs in multiple languages directing visitors. They passed shops, residences, and communal areas where different species mingled freely. Lila stared in amazement at everything they passed. 6 years of captivity had made her forget what freedom looked like. The simple sight of people going about their daily lives without fear brought tears to her galaxy eyes. Maya led them to a quieter section of the station, stopping before a door marked with symbols Jack didn't recognize. She pressed a communication panel and spoke briefly in a language he hadn't heard before. After a moment, the door slid open, revealing a room filled with plants from various worlds. The space was warm and humid, feeling almost like a jungle. From among the foliage emerged another Lysarian. His purple skin was darker than Lila's, with markings that suggested greater age. He had the same 4 arms and galaxy eyes, though his contained more silver than hers. He stopped when he saw Lila. his expression showing disbelief. Lila stepped forward, her hands trembling. "Professor Narration," she whispered. "Is it really you? My dear child." The older Lysarian said, his voice breaking. He moved forward, embracing Lila with all four arms. "We thought you were lost with the others." Jack and Maya stood back, watching the reunion with different emotions. Maya, with satisfaction. Jack with a strange mixture of happiness and something like loss. Lila had found one of her own people, someone from her past life. Before her captivity, Professor Narration finally released Lila, turning to face the humans. "You brought her here," he said, his galaxy eyes studying them intensely. "I am in your debt." Maya nodded toward Jack. "He's the one who broke her out of a Vraxian slave market. I just provided the ride." Professor looked at Jack with new interest. "You risked your life for one of my people. Why?" Jack shifted uncomfortably under the alien's gaze. It was the right thing to do. The Lysarian considered this simple answer for a moment, then nodded as if confirming something to himself. "Come," he said, gesturing for them to follow. "All of you." There is much to discuss. He led them deeper into the jungle-like room to a clearing with cushioned seating arranged in a circle. Food and drinks had been prepared as if he had been expecting visitors. Professor Narration urged them to sit and refresh themselves before speaking again. "I was Lila's mentor at the Academy of Sciences on Lysaria," he explained, his galaxy eyes dimmed with sadness. "When the Vraxians came, I escaped. With a group of students and colleagues, we established a network to find and rescue our people from slavery. It has been slow, difficult work." "How many have you saved?" Jack asked. "Accepting a cup of fragrant tea." "Not enough," Narration admitted. "Perhaps 300 over 6 years. Many more remain in captivity." "But Lila," he turned to her. "Your rescue is particularly significant." Lila looked puzzled. "Why would my rescue matter more than others?" Narration leaned forward. "Because of what you know. Child, before your capture, you were working on something important, something that could change everything." Lila's expression showed confusion. "I was researching energy field manipulation, the theoretical applications of our natural abilities." "Exactly," Narration said. "You were close to a breakthrough. A way to disrupt Vraxian shield technology on a massive scale, something that could give the Resistance a fighting chance." Jack and Maya exchanged glances, both suddenly understanding why the Vraxians had been so determined to recapture Lila. She wasn't just an escaped slave, she was a potential weapon against them. "I don't remember the details," Lila admitted. 6 years of captivity, the collar, the energy draining. They took so much from me. Narration placed a comforting hand on her arm. "The knowledge is still there. It will return with time and safety." He looked at the humans again. "You have done more than save one life. You have given hope to an entire species." Maya stood up, stretching. "This sounds like the beginning of a much bigger story than I signed up for," she said, though her tone was light. "I need to check in with my contacts here and arrange for supplies." She nodded to Narration. "Thank you for the refreshments, Professor Jack. Lila, I'll find you later." After Maya left, the professor turned his attention to Jack. "You are not what I expected from a human," he said. "Your kind has a reputation for self-interest, yet you risked everything for a stranger." Jack shrugged, uncomfortable with the praise. "Most humans aren't so different from your people. We want the same things: safety, freedom, a chance to live our lives without interference." The professor studied him thoughtfully. "Then perhaps there is hope for alliance between our peoples. The Lysarian resistance is small, but growing. We have connections with other species who suffered under Vraxian rule. With Earth's help, I'm just one human." Jack interrupted. "I don't speak for Earth or the Alliance. In fact, the Alliance has treaties with the Vraxian Empire. They wouldn't risk those for your cause." Narration's galaxy eyes seemed to look through. "Jack, you underestimate your influence. Young humans like you shape the future of your species. Your actions ripple outward, changing perceptions, creating new possibilities. Lila had been quiet listening to this exchange. Now she spoke, her voice soft but determined. Jack cannot be expected to fight our battles. Professor, he has done enough. The older Lysarian nodded, conceding the point. You are right. Of course, he needs time to rest and consider. You both do. He stood gesturing to a side door. I have prepared quarters for you both. You are welcome to stay as long as you wish. He showed them to adjacent rooms, simple but comfortable spaces with everything they might need. Jack found himself alone for the first time since the rescue. He sat on the edge of the bed, his mind racing with everything that had happened. His original plan had been simple: save one person from slavery and move on. He hadn't expected to become involved in a resistance movement or interstellar politics. He certainly hadn't expected to care so deeply about what happened to Lila. But something had changed during their journey. He could no longer pretend that the Vraxian Empire's actions didn't concern him. A soft knock interrupted his thoughts. Lila stood in the doorway, her purple skin glowing softly in the dim light. May I come in? She asked. Jack nodded, moving over to make space for her on the small couch by the window. Lila sat beside him, her hands folded in her lap. She seemed different already, more confident. The return of her freedom bringing back pieces of who she had been before. I wanted to thank you properly, she said, her galaxy eyes meeting his. Without you, I would still be in chains, or worse. You don't need to thank me, Jack replied. I just did what anyone would do. Lila smiled, a gentle expression that transformed her alien features. No Jack Carter. Not anyone. Most beings in this galaxy would have walked past and forgotten what they saw. You chose differently. That choice saved more than my life, it saved my soul. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars through the small viewport. The station rotated slowly, providing a constantly changing view of space. What will you do now? Lila asked finally. Jack hadn't decided yet. Return to Captain Amelia's ship, perhaps find another position as a mechanic, keep moving as he had for years, but the thought held less appeal than before. I don't know, he admitted. Something has changed. I can't go back to fixing engines and pretending the rest of the galaxy isn't my concern. Not after what I've seen.